Peace, 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 peace. Wipe it off. Wipe it off. Man, look, I had a moment earlier. Greeting to Source. Let's give honor to the Creator, the Most High, for making all this possible. Let me tell you something. Man, I'm just great. I just want to shout out myself. I'm just grateful for my growth, because there was moments where I feel like I could just turn things into something. But I realized, like, your growth is when you counter something, and instead of going back and forth or doing something, you transmute that something into something positive. And this is why I'm here today. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this. I don't want to hold the phone. Is it charged up? Okay, we on 54%. So really, I'll just hold it like this. Let's give an honor to Source, the Creator, the Most High, for making all these things possible. Source, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call your higher power, let's give an honor. Let's clap it up for ourselves. As you can see, it seems like we're very transformative, apocalyptic moments, whatever is happening around the world. Do I have my chapstick? Because I am not going to keep wanting to lick my lips. I do. Yes, I do. Because this is going to get good. I have a few topics at hand that I want to discuss. You ever been this close to, like, let somebody have it? You're like, no. Let me alchemize this. Let me use this as something for the betterment, not just for myself, but for all. That being said, man, I was just getting major clarity on some, y'all hear me speak about the inner child aspect. I just want to share something that's very, just insightful. And you can share this with whomever. If you get it, to each their own. Let it fly. If you don't, return to it, so forth. Let me see. Where do I start with this? I've been coming into a lot of awareness on, as I've learned to really realize, like, how even a little child and even us as so-called adults, the only difference that I see when it comes, and I'm not speaking on cultures, creeds, or colors, anything, but when I really realize, like, what the divine has given me to share, oh my gosh, I can see how a lot of us, just as we age and become who we are into, if you want to call it adulthood, I've always said that the inner child is always there, has always and will be there. And once I start to really recognize this, man, I start not only giving myself grace, but I start also not tolerating BS from anybody, not even myself. I started to, once that healing journey, once you that full, like, accountability of seeing what self-sabotaging behaviors you've developed and to see how it has brought you to where you are. Let me tell y'all something. It is so easily to see trauma responses or even certain behaviors that people, I don't care if they're 30, 40, 50, 60, you can easily pick up on the fear, the scarcity, or whatever it is around, like, just that little boy and girl within them. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. And this is something that even I went through, someone who went through abuse. Due to my demographics, I grew up in a very, like I've said before, like, in my past, I grew up in like, seeing people be combative naturally or argue. Grew up in a home, and this is me over time recognizing the woundedness of myself and my experience. I grew up over time realizing how much I seen people argue. Then as I got of age, and then, you create a tribe, a family, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of things we don't realize is demonstrated or reenacted because of unconsciously we don't become aware of it until we realize the harm that it can affect either ourselves and those around us. So with that being said, imagine like a lot of us not realizing, but until now, with awakening to said self-sabotaging behavior patterns or generational things, and realizing how much it has affected not only us but the community, meaning that the ones you communion with and those around you, meaning that if something happens in a said neighborhood, then that affects everyone. Somebody around you, when that mother child is taken away from her, or something happened, a child transition or a loved one, that community is affected. That mother mourns, and then that other mothers can feel or have a sense of compassion or empathy. This is no different when it comes to whether the family dynamic. And that's why it's so important how I've said, like, the wealth truly is in the family, like the tribe. I like to use the term tribe, being that because what affects and has affected the mother and father, and whether they're unconscious of it, they reenact this, this subconscious behavior through their parenting or caregiving through their kids, or in their community or environment. Whether you have kids or not, you still hold this mother and father, energy within you, feminine and masculine principles. So whether you know it or not, in your careers, even in, whatever status or whatever you do, you still, whether you're a big time athlete or anything, people still, and kids still look with admiration to said people, and unconsciously or subconsciously program themselves to believe that this is someone that is a hero. And sometimes we don't even recognize this. So even in the home environment, we also can be looked at whether like a villain or a hero. So where I'm getting at is the beauty of, and also the struggle of, unlearning and relearning the fact of like how much we have to give ourselves grace through the fact of a lot of things we didn't know. And then we already get the criticism from the elders or people that came before us. I was reading up on something earlier, and shout out to Yumi, and I want to say her name right. It's UMI, and her last name is Genevieve, I believe. And it was something I came across for the generation of people who were in 1998 to 1992. And the reason why a lot of these things astrologically or, speaking, is it plays a lot of significant roles in what we experienced through the transitions, through the shift of even when technology was presented. Because I remember when I was a certain age, certain things were presented. So with that, a whole perspective change. I was a child that grew up in environments where, again, I naturally saw people be so combative. It was never really a lot of peace in the home. So when we are asked, and depending on what we have experienced, I realize myself, whether I want to use the term toxic or how toxic I've been, or just the toxic environments or dysfunctional environments that I've been in, I realize how much that shit has affected me and the ones around me, and even to why I speak these messages. Like, the programming can be so deep that someone can believe or have this belief system in that time period. Again, for a lot of us that are between the ages 33 to 37, and if you go on Yumi page, she's on Facebook and YouTube, and she discusses like there's certain things where, like, when we were introduced to technology or certain things like flip phones and stuff like that, also in the process of, at a time, I didn't know my mother was doing certain drugs, or I didn't even become aware that, this crack epidemic or certain other drugs were, pills or opium, all that other stuff was like being introduced to the communities. And then you had people going through, things where it gets so deep into where, they're getting fed by, the pills and all that other stuff from the hospital, and people becoming addicted through that. Like so many things that where even myself, from my experience, and then having a partner there's an age difference. And the reason why this is so vital is because not just demographically, but the perspectives when you are, meeting someone, or even when you choose to have kids, or, and so forth, there is so much energetically, karmically, through the lenses of other people, that whatever their said environments and how their environments, were, whether it was nurturing, whether it was combative, whether it was emotionally supportive, spiritually, mentally, physically. Because again, from what Yumi was saying, in the fact of like how even where I'm at now, a lot of us in the age gap of 33 and 37, how we were taught, the concept of hard work hard, and so forth. And then we had to come to the self-realization, like, that shit that ain't what it is. Not for me. And this is why I advocate so much for mental health awareness and also physical health. Because from my age group, or just what I've seen the old school way, and I saw people literally still doing it, working their hands to the bone, or literally hearing about how people that are in their early 50s, 60s, and some of are literally, even some of these elders have to return because of the economics and because of the economy right now, have to return just to try to survive this slavery aspect of the capitalism that has affected that generation, and then that was projected onto us. Now, if y'all got to rewind that, do that. So even how much I've had to stand up for myself, speak my truth, and realize and come to that self-realization, like the bullshit of all these, and the corruption and all these systems that doesn't really bring, which I'm going to go into a whole nother subject, peace when it comes to what adulting really is. And what I mean by peace, it doesn't bring any sense of joy, peace, or even a solution to what it is to be an adult. And even with that, it's so centered around, the constructs are so centered around to disconnect us from our inner child, from the little boy and girl, so much to where we don't even know how to fucking have fun. If you ask a lot of people right now, they're so consumed in whatever it is. I don't care if it's athletics, careers, and so forth. I can sit with people and I'll be like, bro, what do you do for fun? Fun. What is fun to you? And I'm talking about millions, hundreds of millions of people. Hundreds of millions of people. And it's wild because I've dated people and their fun is the club, drinking, and so forth. To each their own. But again, I'm recognizing where a lot of the escapism from the fact of how these things were orchestrated and literally created to keep people from the connection of their essence and inner child. What do I mean? I mean the fact of, like, there is nothing in these corporations or places which we're seeing now that literally brings us to a place of peace. Drinking don't bring you to a place of peace unless you're trying to escape something. I'm not saying not have a shot or whatever it is. I'm not encouraging, anything like that. I'm not encouraging anything like that, because you have someone who can come from generations of alcoholism, who have convinced themselves, who are now, some of us are desperately or trying to break that generational curse and pattern of seeing how at a point in time in my life where I didn't even drink until I was like 20 something. And once I was introduced to that, it became something to where not just peer pressure, but an escapism to where I had to do it just to feel good. And see, that goes back into even how so much we have been disconnected, and to even believe that's what adulting is, or to believe that's what actually living is and having fun. We have to do things, we have to smoke, or we have to do certain things, is what I'm saying, my perspective, just to live. And there's nothing in these systems, corporations, or anything that highlights joy, happiness, peace, harmony. So my example, I'm gonna go into this story where my partner and I, we were invited to this event, and shout out to the beautiful people that invited us to this. I guess you can call it a museum. And before I get into that, was I finished with what I was saying about? Yeah, I can tie that. I can come back to that. So that's what we're gonna do. I like to give my stories. I like to give my good stories so I can keep y'all into the whole totality of everything, because it's just connecting and showing y'all that the reason why a lot of this stuff is happening is that you have a lot of adults walking around and their inner child does not feel safe. So a lot of things, what we're doing is try to escape from the fact of it's not the fact of just feeling the emotion, but it's also the fact of we know nothing about joy. Real, genuine joy, harmony, and peace. We know nothing about it. And I'm saying that from just now trying to return to the shit. I'm talking about getting up like a child would and experiencing joy. Not anything a religion can give you, because nothing outside of you can give you joy. Joy is an internal thing, happiness. But we have been programmed to believe that these things that we have to gain outside of us, whether success, a relationship, anything that is going to, bring us that joy or, replace that void of whatever childhood trauma or experience with that. And it doesn't. And that's through your partnership, friendship, money, even kids. I'm gonna get on this right now. So we were invited to this museum, and just protect myself, I'm not even gonna name the thing, because people get a little iffy now because things, anywho, they had certain things in there that, again, you have these things in places where I can just see so much of the capitalism, the greed, the fucking control, the manipulation is so obvious once you start to become in tune with yourself. Like I said, to each their own. I'm not trying to convince y'all of nothing. I'm just recognizing my awareness. So we go to this place, and the first thing, it's like, it's so structured manipulatively, or so almost put together to where you have to buy something. And it's like when you go to an amusement park, it's a temporary fix. When you look at the old way, some may call it the Matrix, when you look at all these constructs, all of this shit is so connected to preying on our childhood wounds, y'all have no idea. I'm trying to tell you, y'all have no idea. This is why I'm going somewhere now. We went to this event, and that it was for one, how can I say this? The intention on how these constructs, or I guess I'm using this word, or how these things are built upon, is literally to reel people in and literally keep them from to externally focus more on the child rather than the adult. Watch this now. We went to this place, and there's literally absolutely nothing in there that is literally like happiness and joy, unless it's something like, they have a little area where the kids can play. Then they have these said characters in there where, the so-called P Patrol. And what I mean by that, like a dog, because I don't want to give free promotion to nobody. The characters are, that you see on, it's just like your amusement parks. I ain't gonna call out no names. But it's very prevalent how the focus is always on the child and never on the adult. The divine said, I'm going to give you this shit so you can break this down, so I can give y'all some little insight, so I can give y'all this piece to piece, because that's how beautiful the divine operates things. It's literally, as you unfold and evolve and things are unveiled, you will realize how so much of everything has been preying on our childhood wounds and keeping us away literally from joy, happiness, harmony, and finding peace. Peep this. Okay, we're in there, and we go into certain parts of the thing, and I'm like, man, okay, you're teaching the kids about energy, electric, all this other stuff. Nothing really colorful, nothing really exciting or that gets you like, oh, wow, I'm ready to see this. Because again, joy isn't something you can turn off. It's just we've been programmed to believe, and we've been pushing the shit down since our childhood. Our childhood wounds have been preyed on since we were young. Y'all don't get what I'm saying. This is why certain things are removed from certain communities and certain things, because it brings people to a higher frequency or a higher vibration of them returning back to that child, that little boy and girl. So with that being said, we're in this place, and I'm like, okay, there's this dinosaur theme, and there's this submarine thing, all this other stuff, and I'm just sitting back and observing, and I just naturally see how over analytical or even protective, certain parents go into. And through all of this, I'm recognizing the parents' behavior pattern, like all of them. I'm sitting back and observing. Either you have parents in their phone, or you have parents that literally are fucking battling psychologically. Either their minds is focused on bills, their minds focused on a relationship, or they're trying to make sense of what's going on in the world, and their kids have no idea what's going on. It's just their focus is to make the child happy, bro. Whoa. This is what you realizing humanity has got the world so fucking twisted and imbalanced, is because there's nothing implemented for us as adults, which have an inner child, which the little boy and girl is still in us, for us to feel liberated too. I was in these rooms and stuff. I'm like, this it? They ain't got nothing to, no obstacle course, nothing I could jump on. And what about me? What about us when we go do things with our kids? I'm talking about these places that are literally built for you to pay to come in there, and they know you get hungry. Then they up the prices and they do all this stuff. I'm just sitting here like, bro, it's like it's literally well put together just for us to keep us from really enjoying ourselves. But it's very few of us, just like myself, that can find the joy even when you see people around looking like fucking robots. It's like they don't know how to enjoy or embrace life without seeing their kids happy. And this is why I see the mental illness and the disconnect from where we have been and where we're not going anymore. Where we're going is, this is why I speak about the inner child and the healing of that shit, bro. I had to find ways in there to where there was this thing where it was around the so-called, if y'all want to celebrate the New Year then, but I think it was the days before, or whenever, close to that, and this thing happened when they were on stage, and they did some little science thing, and then the confetti came out, and I was like, ooh, it's like I'm so connected to my inner child to where I saw the beauty, as if when you look at a child, they can find the littlest fucking thing in amazement, or find, the imagination. Their imagination is so powerful that they can think a booger is something to laugh about, or their poop. You know how they be like, ugh, poopy, ha. The funniest thing. But anytime where you see a child gets to throw a temper tantrum, cry out, like do everything, but then when an adult is asked, or even when we are taught to keep that shit in, And then you see these adults out here now who have repressed memories and emotions, and that's all I saw in that place. I saw, no matter their age, grandparents or nothing, I saw little boys and girls and all of those men and women who have through years, 20, 30 years, have had so much of a disconnect to the actuality of who they are, and been so caught up in the fantasy of what the world has given them, in the fantasy of their children's life, and the disconnect of their own inner child, the child within them. And when that confetti came out, and I was like, ooh, I jumped my big 6'3", 6'4" ass on the floor, 200 pounds, and I played with my princess. And this is why it's so beautiful, because I feel like a lot of us are here to, through our awakening and healing, to restore that aspect of our lives too. And the only way we can get there is through the bricks and the stones that we have built around our hearts. The stones and stuff, the house that we have built around our hearts, our inner child, because of what we have experienced in our childhood. I'm talking about, I've been in relationships where I've been with women who don't know how to have fun, who don't genuinely know how to literally, and I'm not blaming them because this is a lot of us, I was there, but literally never been or grew up in a home where they had fun. They had parents that were so strict. They had caregivers that were so disconnected emotionally that they abandoning their caregivers or parents abandon their emotions within, and literally program their children to abandon their emotions. And so this belief system that we develop over time, we're living the fuck out, bro. And this is where your mental, emotional, spiritual, physical illness or dis-ease or discomfort is, because we're afraid to have fun with ourselves. A kid can go out there, throw a temper tantrum, do all this other stuff, but soon as we do something like that, throw his ass or his or her into a psych ward, throw his or her into, imprison them in some type of way. And what I've also caught on to, got a little chill in here, what I've also caught on to is also this. Now peep this now. You can give me anybody in whatever career, whatever that they do, let me tell you something, and I can immediately look at them, just because this is how in tune I became, and I can literally tell you that they hate what they do. But due to their belief systems, due to their upbringing, through some type of psychological warfare or programming, that's all they know. And it's not their fault, but we want to blame people that get to that brink. And when I look in there, when I saw those parents and I saw those caregivers, a lot of them have belief systems that are not even their own. This is what angers me, bro. They have belief systems that are not even their own. Y'all have belief systems within you. Y'all have a blueprint that is not organically yours. I'm here to liberate people, liberate y'all, because I had to liberate myself. Y'all do nothing that's creative. When that is a part of you and us being co-creators, y'all do nothing that is creative. I mean creative. Because that it's like the shit that's within you has been so laid dormant. We have literally built stones. And we built stones around what we care and love about ourselves. And we hide it every day through our uniforms, behind our uniforms. We hide it every day behind our careers. We hide it every day on this mask, even being around our kids. We hide our anger and our frustration. I told my partner there was times where I was like, yo, I want my child to see that her father is fucking angry. I want my child to see that I am not perfect and I'm unlearning behavior patterns that has nothing to do with her. I had to literally sit down with my daughter and tell her that. Like, baby, I'm angry. Sometimes I don't even know why. It's just like a little child. Because a lot of us have grew up in environments where, again, we didn't have mothers and fathers who knew the importance of emotionally regulating their, regulation or emotional intelligence. And we asking of our kids to be immediately emotionally intelligent. Yes, they are intelligent in advance. And some of them are even more intelligent on a level of awareness than we are. And that's simply because we've allowed the external world to become so consumed, or we allow the external world or the validation or acceptance of others to dictate what our happiness should look like, feel like, be like. With what we wear, with what we do, with how we act. Gosh. And so, it's that's what's so painful when I have the compassion. It's like, we think that just because we get a certain age, and look at what we do to look at what we do to our elders. Look at what we do to our elders. We literally throw them in these so-called homes where the little child and little boy is still within them too. And they get so disconnected from, what that feels like. And people don't even realize, like, when you look at a baby come in, they have no hair. Some people don't always go out, like, leave the world like this. But they come in looking just like a little elderly person. They come in, some of them come in a diaper. Not everyone leave in a diaper, but some of them come in a diaper. And in the same way we take care of them as caregivers growing up, we too, it shows a fucking cycle of life. What is this about? What are we doing? Are we not here to have fun? Are we not here to experience a life of joy? I mean, you humans, people have got so consumed and attached to the fact of, like, y'all so serious about life. You're so serious about your careers. When the creator source cares nothing about that. Nothing. All of us came here to learn lessons to get back to the innocence. So that's what we are returning to. We come from love, come here to be loved, and learn the lessons how to be lovable. I'm going to say that again. We come from the source or creator from love. Then we come through our mothers. Through love, we are created. And even through the woundedness of where our mothers and fathers were, we still, in the depths of that, at the origins of who we are, organically, the vibration of love, of authenticity. It's not until we get here that we have to battle through our said circumstances of whatever spiritual vices that our mothers and fathers carry generationally through their wombs, through the mother's wombs and through, their DNA structures and so forth. We are facing those very things karmically. We literally are clearing karmic debt. We're literally 7 generations before and after. When I look at these adults in there and I'm paying attention, I'm like, these motherfuckers don't know how to have fun. It's like, wow, we're so disconnected from the actuality of what we're here to do. And I see it no differently why certain kids or, kids behave a certain way. And then when you see people of certain ages, they have been forgotten about and they don't feel seen or accepted in a world, and they feel like they need that from the world. And in reality, they never had it or never been around it in environments where they had people who really seen themselves, who really know the importance of what joy really is, who have been given certain programmings, whether religion, whether, and religion is just one of the other programmings, as well as careers or certain distractions from you. Your relationship, your one-on-one relationships are literally mirrors of you, literally bringing you back to you. But that's the awareness most people don't have. I had to see that even like I tell you, when I'm in these places, I see these people, I'm like, bro, your schools, your corporations, they're not Even the adults that's in there, they don't love what they do. They're literally just doing it just to get by, just to survive another day, just to put food on a table. And even in that perspective, it has nothing to do with really enjoying life. Because the first time when they get up, everything is designed to keep us away from our inner child and really, really being who we are. Literally, we have gotten so far away from really giving those very things that we need that brought us the joy. I mean, that not so much brought us, but that gave us that spark when we was a child. I can sit down with 1,000, which I'm ready now. Be sure to go in my email, my description, and I'm ready to speak about this shit wherever, anyway, wherever, around the world, I'm ready. Because a lot of people need this message. That's things I even see catastrophically that's happening for it's like divine intervention for me. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but it's divine intervention just to show humanity how disconnected we have been from ourselves. Where we haven't had compassion. We have allowed social media to take the empathy and compassion away from it's literally dehumanizing us if we allow it. To show the importance of life. Y'all don't even know how to have fucking fun or live without your phone. I'm calling a spade a spade. That's why a lot of us are called to deliver these messages, is to show y'all like, I'm ready to go share this message to the world, to the universe, to the universes of others, because like there will and shall be things implemented to where the inner child has to be celebrated within us all for us to live amongst each other. And there's nothing here that literally empowers our inner child, empowers us to experience joy, to take moments to ourselves with no distractions from other people. There is nothing in place. It literally is in place for people to literally, when they come out of the womb, already assigned for them to be so disconnected from themselves into their so-called adulthood. Literally, it's literally designed that way. Because a lot of you don't know who the fuck you are at all. You don't know who you are. And I'm not talking about your careers and your status. You don't know who you are without those things. And what I mean by that is like, who is a little boy and girl within you? What do they want to do? How do they want to live? That's what liberates you. That's what's liberating. When you allow the little boy and girl within you. Not allowing the world anything to try to tell you that you don't matter because you don't subscribe or conform to their belief system. It's done. And what I mean by that, the old constructs of all this shit, everything that's happening in this world will bring us back to the oneness. I will not repeat that. That's what this is about. It's bringing us back to the oneness within ourselves and see how we all are one. Shout out to Frankie Beverly and Mays, was ahead of his time. We are one. No matter who you are, we are one. Deep down in your heart, we are one. No matter who you are, deep down in your heart, we are one. And that's the way it is. And it don't matter the powers that used to be, the forces that want to, it's literally just igniting the fire even more. It's literally everything that's playing out on this world stage is bringing us back to the fact of, why the fuck have you forgotten about your inner child? What matters most? Because all of y'all ain't nothing but little boys and girls running around that don't know how to regulate your emotions. Shit, even me. And I'm still trying to unlearn behavior patterns so that I don't harm my inner child. And when I come to that self-realization, I don't have to harm no one around me. not just children, but adults who have an inner child. So again, when we was in that said place, I was there to be an observer to realize how much, as much as they want to paint this picture that this is about kids and this is about family, and I'm not saying people didn't enjoy themselves, but when I see certain shit in there that everything is centered around, you got certain things like the hospital, the construction, and it's literally, what y'all don't know is programming your child that this is life. Be a firefighter, be a house. That is not all to life. That is the old way, in the old constructs of the old world, was to keep people in a stagnant, controlling way, because the world is moving into something where a lot of things is preventable. A lot of things are to live in harmony and peace with. And the corruption around the said constructs or corporations that were built just to keep your kids, they're thinking that that's all there is to life, that they have to be in a certain career. Like, no. It's done. That old way, that old ideology is done. Whew. My way I had to learn in the beauty of entrepreneurship is the liberation to allow my fucking inner child to express themselves. Did I say themselves? Oh yeah, my inner child. This is my inner child. Literally, the little boy in me literally can live the way he desires to live, doing what he loves, through my arts, through my speaking, through seeing other people live out their dreams. And realizing the dream isn't something that you grasp or you chase. You are living it. The only nightmare is that you're not living your dream. Did you hear that? The only nightmare, because it's a nightmare when you go to these environments and you go to these places where you're not even living your dream, because you were told in society that this is your dream job. Your dream job is the word job. Your dream is doing whatever the fuck you called to do here, your purpose. And that's not a said thing. That's not a specific thing. You can be all things. You can do all things. If you want to get up today and dress in a dinosaur suit and you use your imagination and you want to do, so what? Who's judging you? I guarantee your kids will laugh and they'll be right there with you, jumping around, roaring with you. Rah, rah. And that's the thing some of you don't get up and do. Some of y'all want to get up. You don't even want to go to that place, but I get it. I really do get it. And this is one of the, toughest things when you're seeing, which I was affected by, is when you see things similarly to my childhood, now that I'm more aware of, when you see the economics, but you're seeing the control and manipulation around economics. When you see the economy right now where people, due to the old programming, believing like this is all there is, where I have to go out here, I gotta da-da-da-da-da, and it was never intended that way. It was only implemented just for us now to create a change and a shift where the collective, we change that perspective, where we rise up, where we realize that the power has always been individually in ourselves and for the people. We change this shit. We, not I, we. In my own world, I can change things, but we change this. So, seeing those mothers and fathers in those environments, bro, I just recognized like how disconnected people are. There was nothing in there. I was like, man, I need something to climb on. I need something to do. Why is everything so focused on the child? And it's so set up. Let me show you how this shit, bro. It teaches you to go out there, work for your child's happiness. Oh my gosh. Somebody needed to hear that shit. You're literally programmed to believe. You're literally, your childhood wounds are so preyed upon to where it teaches you not to do what you love and literally create from that place to connect to others, because there's not systems in place that pour into said people who desire to pour in other people, not to benefit from them from a monetary aspect, but from a energetic aspect, and not from the manipulation of other things of how it's been done. Literally trying to prey on our woundings, like, you got to go out here, you got to be this, you got to be this, work hard, do this and do this and do this. And what I'm getting at is, like, a lot of us took on that, depending on our age and our generation, to where we come to the self-realization, like, bro, I can do better things through entrepreneur, doing things where I love. Yeah, will there come certain hardships or challenges? Will it be as easy? Absolutely not, because you're talking about shifting not only your mindset, your well-being emotionally, mentally, but you're unlearning, reprogramming yourself, and then trying to create a whole fucking lifestyle around that. Will that come with certain challenges like homelessness? It has for me. Will there come certain aspects of life where that comes with friends and family falling away? It has for me. I haven't once like disregarded that, because the authenticity from it all is that I've seen the vision or the dream that when other people didn't see, the steps, and when we were ascending and going up and doing this together, where they couldn't see the steps on the ladder, they had to fall away because they were too focused and they were too comfortable in the stuff that they felt like would never change. And that's the same thing where you're seeing when I was born and now 20, 30 some odd years later, to where at a time where the energy has shifted, where that perspective then, which is the energy then or similarly to now, where things have been unfolding, where you had these, whether it was certain things, around the 2008, and certain things where, economically things took a hit, where they call it a recession, and I like to look at it as progression. It all depends on the mindset. But still, some people see it that way, and there's a balance. But those things purposely had to happen to bring forth anew, to rebirth a new way of being, a new way of how we're approaching things. New people coming into leadership, other people falling from grace. Because again, the balance and how things are balancing out, it's all divinely orchestrated. Even where I tell people, even they wanted to laugh at you, let me tell you something. There's nobody that has a hold tight to your vision but you and your connection to source. I wasn't giving it to, I was giving it just to show that everybody cannot go at the same moment. The beauty of it is me recognizing why I was giving it. Why I had to see people who gate kept things from people, or literally abused it, or literally did it for their own self-righteous or, self-righteous reasons, or even just a fact of trying to literally continue a cycle of, a cycle of generational curses, not knowing how it would affect the youth, not knowing how much they could have changed just through what they feel they should do through integrity, and or not. And either way, there's nothing that can stop what's written or the divine order of things. So the beauty from all of this is that me being able to recognize and observe an old world, old narrative being dismantled, and literally realizing like I have no regrets or shame, and no one can make me feel that way about it. Literally, no one can make me feel the ways about it, because I start to realize when I start to see exactly what these people were going through, I'm like, I can't, why would I judge them? I want it to be like, you know what, hey, come on, come with me, and, this it's going to be much better on this side. But this is where you realize people have to grow. People have to learn. I wanted, at that time where I could not save nobody, I have compassion, but there's a point in your life where you cannot save. You realize there's no saving nobody but yourself, in the sense of like, there are things you have to go, and if it's meant for you to return and reach back or return, then so be it. But man, let me tell you, man, like, when I realized and I came to this awareness, like, people will laugh, and that's how it's supposed to be. They'll criticize you, they'll judge, They'll throw their stones. They'll say all this shit. And you don't have to say you told them so. It's just like you realize, like, to whom is given, much is required. It's required of people to still walk in integrity and to be responsible. Because at a point in time, I was trying to be responsible for everybody else. And this is what these corporations and things teaches you. It's like, tell you to be responsible for everyone else's emotions but your own. Be responsible for everybody else physically but your own. How many people you know that is probably going through this housing crisis right now, and as much as they are in a position to take care of themselves, but they're not ready for the backlash and the judgment, because people will be like, well, why would you do that? Why would you do that? But they'll forget about and put their emotion and their well-being on the back burner just for the self-sacrifice and fucking programming that we grew up in and were born into. Literally self-sacrificing everything that literally brings us joy, that brings us a sense of peace and harmony. That's the huge generational curse that's being broken through individually and humanity. When you see someone can live in a $1 million home, but yet they're in there with nothing, with no sense of joy, with no sense of peace. When you see people in a world that are literally greedy for more and more money, for what? When you see people out here literally filming them helping people, or like in a sense of for clout, or in it, when you see people filming their experiences in a way of looking for validation. I'm not saying this to everybody. I'm talking about the fact of, I'm highlighting the mental illness, bro. That you will see the world, before they go out there and genuinely support someone, they'll support someone knowingly that's just because it entertains and strokes their ego. They'll support someone that's recording and needing this support and not really needing it, but before they go out there and not to say you got to open your door for someone, but literally pour into someone else. These charity foundations, all this stuff, they got to prove to people that they're being charitable. Where the fuck are the morals and principles, bro? Where's the integrity in all of that? Where? You never see a child try to prove their love to their mother and father. And even if they are, it's because, I'm telling you, gradually as they grow up, it's because of a woundedness or a void or some type of something that they didn't receive in their childhood. Because a child never needs their approval from anything to be who they are. And once we sit down and really look at ourselves and reflect and realize, like, what is it that we need to be approved to be successful, accepted, embraced, lovable, teachable. This is why I always reference Whitney Houston's song when it says, I believe our children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. And I'm not going to say we failed the kids, because I'm not failing no one. I just realize we have really, when people really get to where they realize how much they've been disconnected from themselves, you failed yourself. You're failing to embrace who you are, to love the parts of you that your mother and father, even through their woundedness, didn't even have the capacity or capability to do, but yet we're still walking around here like they owe us some shit, or anybody. So that's what I see when I see these parents and stuff, when I'm able to recognize the fact of, like, even sometimes the child behavior that they display is a reflection of the mother and father, but sometimes they inherit a lot of things generationally that's beyond their control. And then I had to tell someone, I'm like, bro, I had to give myself grace the other day, because I was telling my partner, I'm like, look, everybody's doing the best they can. That's why I had to learn to have grace when I didn't even know how, for myself and other people, because you got people raising or bringing up kids who never had emotional support. And so a lot of us are even learning how to even emotionally regulate our fucking emotions before we can even tend to our kids. So when we see a generational pattern, when you see humanity, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at a wounded nation. You're looking at a wounded world who have been taught to suppress through a monetary system their emotions, their memories, and everything. Not just through monetary, through career status and so forth. So when you're out in the world, you're seeing a bunch of sad-ass kids inside of adult bodies. Heartbroken. And then a lot of mothers and fathers probably are not here. And so now they'll never get that approval. And some of them will live that pattern out through relationships because, you know, unconsciously believing like this person, they're lonely. And I realize that I'm not saying human interaction isn't a great thing, but they'll pull someone in knowing that they're not ready emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And this is even my experience that I have to learn through a fucking generational pattern that I had to break, where I had to recognize in certain seasons that I need to be with me. I need to be with me a little bit more. I need to have a more one-on-one with myself before a lot of us can even be in said our own children's life. That's the real responsibility and accountability comes in. Is that when I see a lot of these mothers and fathers out here, I'm like, bro, there's nothing for them. They're steady through every day, through their careers, continuously, hourly, monthly, yearly, repressing their emotions. And they really believe that literally bringing joy to their children and having their children at the center of their world brings them happiness. And I'm ready to let you know that it's not true. Your happiness is yours first. Or you will continue a cycle where resentment will grow. Literally. Resentment will grow. Now, until there's a moment where there are things implemented where the mother and father are just as important as vital pieces, like on a chessboard or on whatever, in this game of life, as just as a child, and everyone has an inner child, until that is implemented, the world is literally, you're just going to create more of nightmares and terrors for people. It's just going to create more woundedness and resentment, because it's not to say it's no one's fault. There's no accountability. We want to hold our kids accountable so much about, don't make this decision, don't do this. We don't want them to follow in so much of our footsteps. But you don't realize it's like they're not going to follow in your footsteps. They may implement or display certain behaviors that you're not okay with and happy with. But have you asked yourself what belief system, when it comes to just throwing their ass to in more of control, manipulation, and capitalism, whatever it is, how do you think that is helping them? I had a discussion with my partner. We were talking about how the importance of how the mother, and I always say this, the mother is the first teacher, to where there's things that need to be implemented where a child shouldn't easily be just thrown into other people's care so suddenly, even in school systems. All this shit. And wonder why you just create more of an abandonment. And mothers know what I'm talking about. You don't. Deep down, your intuition is not telling you to give your child to these environments and places where you know they don't give a fuck. The moment is now. And through war that brings peace, and through chaos that creation, this is the birth of a new nation. This is the birth of a new world. This is the birth of a phoenix rising. And it's happening within us first, not externally. That's where the confusion was implemented. A lot of you mothers, because there are more women, I always especially speak to the matriarchal. There's something that's happening within you, love, that you're trying to figure out. Don't try to figure it out. It's going to constantly keep nudging at your ass till you realize, until you recognize that your inner child needs to be liberated. And you too will see the importance of your children's liberation and the children that comes after them and their generation that comes after them. no matter if that father agrees. I'm not saying the man isn't important in the picture, but it's very vital that a man who has been given a vision, because all men have been given probably a vision of some sort, but a lot of them don't follow through with what they love and what's authentic and what's built off integrity and morals and principles. Because some of them are swayed. They are consumed by this material shit. They are consumed by things that they believe, which they don't even recognize, through their own wounding or through their own whatever they want to idolize outside of them, that has kept them really away from them really being their authentic self. I don't care what status they have. I don't care how much money they have. If they do not have a vision that empowers not only themselves, but also the generations, and empowers the foundation of those kids that you're with, that you had by him, it's time for y'all to heal. Mothers, I don't care if you're a new mother and so forth. That's always been something within you. I'm telling you, you know who you are. Some of you are, you are children of said pantheons. You're children of Yemoya, Oshun. You're children of Lilith. You're children of a lot of things spiritually. You come from very powerful indigenous women. And there were men too. But you have to pay attention that what this patriarchal system has done is not to keep you stagnant, but to empower you so that you can love that little girl. And when you love that little girl, as I told my partner one day, I said, when you love that little girl, you're loving all of the versions of those women that came before her. And their little girl that came before them. And that little girl that came before them, and that great-great-grandma, and that great-great-great-grand, and grand, all that, they also had a little girl. And all of them didn't get the opportunity that you did. So when we speak, and you hear me speak about ancestors, that's the shit I talk about. Because that's what this is about. I always tell y'all, when you bring healing to yourself, and I know it's uncomfortable, it's okay to cry if you hear this message. It's okay, but stop repressing it. Stop keeping it down. Because I'm going to tell you that man will always reveal his true nature eventually. And that's from experience. Because I knew I was wounded. And I couldn't hide it. Until I came to the self-realization that what I do and how I do it will affect 7 generations after me. What I do will have an effect on that little girl who will become a mother, who will someday become a grandmother. That little girl at a certain age who has all her eggs, and spiritually that makes her ethereally, ancestrally, a mother to the divine, a grandmother to that little boy, to that grandchild eventually, to those sons that you sit back and you think that you withhold your love from because of your woundedness, because of your father wound. You withhold your love from yourself. Stop withholding the love from yourself. Some of y'all needed to hear that. I had to learn that. I had to realize my mother could never come along, and she's never going to come along to give me that love that I realized that I was looking for outside of me, when I realized that the divine said, you are the first and last love. You came through your mother, not from. Yeah, your mother and father came together, but listen, you are your first and last love. That means you have to learn how to be with you, no matter what. Your kids will leave you someday, whether physically or even in this body. You will leave them. So again, what is this about? Stop withholding the love from you that you know you need to pour into yourself. It will be very uncomfortable in the healing journey. When I had to sometimes sit with my partner or people face to face, and I had to sit for my daughter, I had to sit for my nephew and say, hey, your uncle gonna have to leave someday. But it didn't have to hurt no more. It didn't have to hurt when I do these things, because I realized that when I do leave, my inner child is still there. And I realized that love never left me. Yeah, my mother departed. Yeah, my father, whether it was through my abandonment issues, where I realized that when I recognized that I could no longer abandon myself And I never abandoned me. I was just taught from a belief system how to abandon myself. There was corporations and shit put in place to teach me to continue to abandon myself. Until I realized, like, you know what? you powers that used to be, you mother lovers, boy. You preyed on the woundings of our mothers for so long until we realized, like, it was through our daughters now that a lot of us are responsible for. The more conscious how we raise our daughters. Even through my own unhealthy patterns, I still tell my daughter, I'm like, look, yeah, daddy angry. Daddy may have to go somewhere because daddy need to get daddy together. And you may see daddy, but deep down there's a little boy that you didn't know that had these experiences during his childhood. And this is not your fault. Why the bigger dad, the bigger little boy now that just has more hair and all like this is angry. He's not angry with you. I know sometimes daddy's voice changes and stuff, but guess what? He's not angry with you. And this is what a lot of you need. And you're looking for this in your mothers and fathers, whether they're here or not. When you need to have this discussion with yourself first, then you have the discussion with your kids. Tell your kids you ain't mad at them. Not by the decisions that they made. It's okay to be disciplined. But some things you know, I'm holding y'all ass accountable. Some things you know deep down that you are angry with that has nothing to do with that child. And you want them to feel shame and guilt because of the resentment that you hold within yourself from your mother and father not loving you. How dare you? That's disgusting. And I'm telling you from a place where I've done it. To where I had to tell people, I had to tell my daughter, this ain't got nothing to do with you. Your daddy was hurting. His inner child is still recovering and healing from the past traumas, from the ass whoopings he used to get consistently for years. And now he didn't realize how much his body has kept the score. His body has kept the memories. Certain pains that come up that's frustrating. Like, why did I have to experience that? Why did I have to endure that curse? Questioning God the Most High, like, why did I have to experience this? So you want to have a real conversation, have one with yourself first, then you go have one with somebody else. This ain't for oohs and ahs. This ain't for the money. This front line right here. Front line. And a lot of you ain't that. A lot of you will go out here and do shit for money, do shit for clout, do stuff for TV and all like that. You ain't who you say you are. I can see you. And the divine see you. It don't matter if I see you. Though the moments we living in, we can see with the spiritual eye, and the spiritual eye sees all things. The all seeing. Because ain't nobody come tell me what my inner child deserves more than me. No one knows the depths of what my inner child, the things you don't see, the little boy, there's parts of people who knew who I was, but they still have an idea of me. Remember, what you do with your child and whomever, they will always hold that idea sometimes until you confess to yourself about what it is, how you have had shortcomings, so you can tell that child, this ain't me. So they don't have to carry that karma, so they don't have to carry that energy. I had to tell my daughter, this ain't got nothing to do with you. I had to tell my partner, like, things we went through ain't got nothing to do with our child. See, we wanna bring everything what we dealt with people into our kids' life and throw that shit off on them. That shit ain't fair because it happened to us. Now, when you gonna change it? I might come back from part 2. Just remember this. Come on now, you're responsible for your emotions, your actions. Now, how you gonna get mad at your child or somebody else when you out here acting like it really don't affect them? It does. Because some of us be like, man, I can't believe she said that. No, because And I'm not saying it's about being perfect and all that. It's about being you. You ain't been honest. When the last time you been honest with you lately? Yeah, don't feel ashamed because a lot of y'all went down a path of prostitution. A lot of y'all went down a path of, doing certain things. I don't care if it's gambling. I don't care if whatever it was. That's why nobody can come to me and tell me, oh, this is what you did in your past. So what? This is where I am now presently. And I'm using that and alchemizing that to shift the perspective. To show kids the importance of me speaking to a young man to be like, hey, man, chill, breathe. Take a deep breath before you go out there You know, I know you love that girl, but, you know, homeboy might have said this, but let me tell you something. What you will do will impact not only you, but have a ripple effect on everybody else. And guess what? She probably go on with her life, seen it, experienced it. You got to know to care about you more in certain situations where certain things are beyond your control. Peace and bliss and shalom.